Mass protests amid the smell of onions and garlic. This is Roger Watson, and this is my Connecting Continents column of the 18th of June 2019 for the Reflections on Nursing Leadership magazine. Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, China. I've been to Hong Kong often and usually don't have much to report. So I was concerned the same would be true on this visit. But how wrong I was. This time, from my hotel room, I could see throngs of protesters surrounding the Legislative Council building as Hong Kong residents demonstrated against the proposed extradition bill. Organisers say nearly 2 million people have taken part in the mass protests, which I'm sure you've noticed on the news. As I emerged from the MTR, that's Hong Kong's underground train system, I detected a pungent odour, onions and garlic, that took me back more than 25 years. Initially, I wasn't sure if I was smelling what I thought I was, but CNN reports later confirmed it was tear gas. When I did military service, we used tear gas to test the integrity of our respirators and perform self-protection drills against nuclear, biological and chemical weapons. Rubber bullets have also been fired to disperse the Hong Kong demonstrators. Rubber bullets sound innocuous, but these hard plastic cylinders, also called baton rounds, can inflict serious damage, so history has been made in Hong Kong. In all the pro-democracy protests that have taken place here over the years, including the Umbrella movement, such force has never been used against its citizens until now. With its copious numbers of armed police, row upon row of police vans, and roadblocks shutting down the island's main artery, Hong Kong for one day had the feel of a police state. Things calmed down for a time, but before I left for home, protesters were gathering again in the streets. I wasn't in personal danger, but I was glad to get out. Will I be back? Well, it's the first time in more than 15 years that I've departed Hong Kong without knowing when I would come back, without knowing if I would be back. In one way or another, I've been associated with all of the nursing schools in Hong Kong. I'm still an honorary professor at the University of Hong Kong, but so far the position has not involved any specific duties. I doubt very much that this is goodbye to Hong Kong for me. I've been here in various capacities more than 100 times and have no complaints. This visit was my swan song at the University Grants Council, the UGC, where I've served on the Research Grants Council, the RGC. 3 terms of 2 years each is the maximum allowed. The RGC disbursed around 50 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately $8 million US, to successful General Research Fund applicants. We also disburse funds to the Early Career Scheme and the prestigious Fellowship Scheme. In addition to our funding responsibilities, we also undertake a visit on behalf of the RGC to local UGC-funded universities. This year it was Hong Kong Baptist University, HKBU, where we learned about their ambitious plans to increase research activity. We also visited various schools at the university related to our personal areas of interest. Chinese medicine. I spent most of my time in the School of Chinese Medicine, where they're making genuine efforts to identify active ingredients, test them, and produce standardized and reliable medicines. They're also looking for novel compounds and uses for existing Chinese medicines. I was tempted to ask if they could identify and properly test compounds, would these drugs remain Chinese medicines, if they worked, or would they be moved into what they refer to as Western medicine? Currently, HKBU doesn't have a nursing school, but they have plans to develop one. I wonder if they want a visiting professor. Apart from work, I met with many long-time friends in Hong Kong and on the RGC panel. The saddest part of these visits was bidding farewell to fellow panellists, who are some of the most prestigious people in their fields, and to Cindy Fan, PhD, Vice Provost for International Studies and Global Engagement at UCLA, who's chaired my sub-panel with good humour and efficiency. Despite coming to Hong Kong for so many years, I'm always pleased to find something new to visit. A fellow panellist enthused about the Nanlian Garden, which is maintained by a Buddhist nunnery. It's really beautiful, with bougainvillea in bloom, fabulous water features, and typical Chinese buildings. The nunnery is out of bounds, and the main hall was closed for refurbishment. But the atmosphere was conducive to writing, so I wrote a haiku sequence based on some of the things I saw there. In the article there's a link to that sequence. Creating and editing Wikipedia pages. In a previous entry, I mentioned my interest in creating Wikipedia pages for nurse leaders and identified a page I'd made for Hugh McKenna. I've also generated pages for Parveen Azam Ali, Brendan George McCormick, Madhya Panchgahar, Laura Dana Sasso and David Robert Thompson. Some of these require improvement, and anyone is welcome to edit or add material. The complete list of my Wikipedia activities can be found on my Wikipedia page, which is easy to find in Wikipedia, and you can look at my information page there. And it includes many other pages that I edit and also feature other nurse leaders. Next, in rapid succession, come 2 visits to Genoa, Italy. The first is a short visit to speak at a conference, and the second to perform my role as a visiting professor at the University of Genoa. The long-suffering and often neglected Mrs. Watson will accompany me on the first trip and say she's looking forward to it. I thought she was coming because she wanted to be with me, but it's because of the terrible weather we're experiencing in the UK. I know my place.
This podcast was produced in association with youpublicationslimited.com.